Hey, everybody, this is Ramona Miles with Tech Savvy Women Over 50 magazine. And today I am interviewing Doris Yep. She is the money girl, and she's going to talk to us about our business finances. This issue is issue number 4. It's also about social media domination. This is where we will be leaping our businesses forward. We've got our foundations in place, and so now we're ready to build out and succeed in our businesses. One of the things that come up in a lot of businesses in their growth and trying to scale is money. And so Doris is here to talk to us about that. And I'm going to let Doris have the stage now. Doris?
Hi, everyone. Thank you for having me, Ramona. I appreciate it. I love talk about money and also love talk about building teams. So my background is in corporate finance, from startup to Fortune 100 companies. And I have managed a lot of different teams in many different capacity, from sales to product development, network, IT, and many different groups as well. And also as I manage money, my role is very different. In all my 30 years in corporate and in different capacity of the business, I'm the one that approving business plan. So within a big business, we also have many different business proposition that we need to spend money. I'm the one to approve the paycheck to say, yes, go ahead. We need to approve this project to go on. And this is where I see thousands of different business proposition, from creating a new product to expand to a new market, or merging a different team or go overseas. So I've seen all different flavors. So that's why I'm really passionate about this topic, because I know the success ingredient of what it takes to make the business successful, from ideation to execution.
That means you are responsible for large amounts of money going through companies and helping them be strategic in what they do to keep the money flowing through their businesses as they grow, and to also help them with any losses. Like, you can recognize when a company is going down a little bit simply because there's money leaking. You used that term once, and it's like money leaking out of the business. So, as a visionary CFO, what inspired you to establish this, and how does your background in startups and with Fortune 100 companies, how were you able to help them manage their teams and build their financial management and building their teams? How were you able to do that?
I think first off, I wanted to kind of clarify, because when people think about the finances or money or CFO or accountant, they always think about no. Everybody's just saying no. You can't spend the money. We don't have enough. You always think about that. It's always a stopper, always a resistance. But in my role, what I do, I actually want to make money, want them to spend money to make money. Okay, where should we spend the money to get the most return so we can grow? You know, instead of like no. So that's why I think my experience is very different, in the sense of, when we create an idea, I help them to create the projections, not just a budget for the year what you need to spend or not to spend. And think about 3-year projections, where the money needs to be spending to create a foundation. That way you can grow and scale. Is it in sales and marketing? How much we should spend in sales marketing? If we need people, how big of a team we should start, and how we growing over time. When you think about our system, it's important. Technology, how much we should spend on it. So everything has a mix of spend that we need to understand or dial back, instead of just like, okay, we have this big sum of money. Where does the money go? And most of the times, that's where people get lost. They have the money, but it's still not making money at the end, or they have the money, they put the money in the wrong place. So therefore, it gives them a resistance to grow, because they were putting in the wrong place in the wrong time. So everything has a cadence of how we're looking at it. And in my experience, also really interesting is, most of the business owner and leaders come to me, they have an idea. Everybody thinks it's the biggest idea. Every projection is a hockey stick. Oh, overnight, in 12 months, we're going to hit this. But 99.9% of the time, when we go back to look at the numbers, is not that way, right? Things cost more than what anticipated, things taking a little bit longer. So therefore, when we think about a 3-year plan, it's not a static plan. You continue to refine the plan so that way you know how to reallocate your money and your people to make sure those are still on track of where you're going. So that's where I come in as a growth strategist and CFO, and to help you dial in each step what makes sense. And I'm here to help you make money, but also we need to spend money to make money. And this is where I come in to help dial back. And that's why I'm not your typical CFO, because my vision is to ensure whatever we do, the business is creating to align with your visions. And ultimately, not just for the sake of making money, because making money is only one ingredient of the business. The business itself is solving a problem. That's why business emerge every single day to solve a problem, either product or services. There's a bigger than money part. It's the energy of solving problem and the impact. So that's why I love what I do is I taking your ideas, I want to make it happen. That's why I call a vision to financial reality. And that's what I do day in and day out, because every case is different. But whatever it is to help you achieve your dreams. At the same time, it's sustainable because you have money to fuel this business and continue to make the impact that you desire.
Wow, that's amazing. And as you were as you were talking, I was thinking, because so many businesses, I'm sure, really, really need your help. But when they're saying no, is it mainly because they don't see that there's money already there for them, and that maybe they could use their money differently, that will then give them that money that they didn't realize was there, that they can spend? Because they're saying no because they're looking at the numbers, and the numbers are going, no, there isn't any. But you have a talent where you know where to look and help them find the money that's already in the company, where they may be
Absolutely.
thinking they have to go out and borrow more money or get more
Absolutely.
investment or something. Can you give maybe an example of that, like a case study type of example, so someone can actually see themselves in this space of needing your assistance?
Yeah, absolutely. So, both in my corporate world that I am managing the biggest, cost center, if you will. So like $350 million. So every year we have budget cuts. So they all knock on my door. Door is what we can do. I need $50 million. So I'm really skilled at finding money, because that's where I do for years, and I always have to find it. And so what happened in business owner, it's the same case, is they don't know that every business is leaving money on the table. They don't understand, but I'm really skilled at finding. It could be your people. Maybe you hire a whole bunch of contractors, and then you try to manage it, and you spend a lot of time and try to get everything all pieced together. Maybe that's a better way to think about your people strategy. Not only you can save money, but also to make it more efficient. When you free up time, then you can use the time to create something else. So people is one place. It's always where you can find money. And secondly is we could be investing in things that we need at the time, but as your company grow, certain things that you need before maybe no longer needed it. So one classic example is we have a whole bunch of different software. They do a little bit of the same thing, but a little bit of something different. So we have all kind of subscription is going on, but really consolidating the critical software, you can save a lot of money on that too, especially is recurring. And then thirdly is leaving money on the table is along pricing. We tend to undervalue our services, underprice, undercharge, and we always feel like, well, I cannot really charge that much because our competitor charge that. We try to match it, and or we trying to undercut it because we're cheaper than our neighbors, so therefore they buy. That is totally wrong concept when we think about pricing strategy. And I specialize in pricing strategy as well to really align your value of your services, to figure out the right pricing for your services, and not only just one size fits all, but really align with what they look like. So I can go on and on. I find money everywhere. And there are also time that you can save that I work with CEO to help them to optimize their time. They are all over the place.
Mm.
Therefore, they're not able to really focusing on the most critical thing that only they can do. And that can bring millions of dollars when they go out to pitch the investor or just to create another product or really going with their client to create another wave of product and services they can serve them in an ascension model. So there are so many different places that everybody is leaving money on the table. But when I'm able to do an audit to looking at it, within a week or two, you can quickly find where they are and you can block the leaks and then using the time and energy and the money to deploy something else, you can multiply your impact very quickly when you have these kind of strategies and insight.
Wow. So that means that when a company is facing financial management issues, they are seeking your advice to go in and audit, right? Maybe audit what
We
they
do an
what
assessment in,
yeah,
yeah, we
okay.
do a full assessment in every aspect of the business.
Yeah.
Again, my background supporting operation to sales and product development. So I can see each of those areas, what is the optimal way to running it. So through the
Mm-hmm.
assessment, we'll be able to dial back to see where they are. Typically, when people are losing money in the business, that's what they tend to do. They cut prices, then they wanted to make, more sales, or
Mm-hmm.
they try to sell more. But
Oh,
sometimes when you sell more, you're actually losing money in your business. So sometimes making more sales may not be the answer because the more sales you make, you can lose more money because on the back end, you're not able to support the sales. Maybe you need to incur more operating costs. So therefore, making more sales or cutting costs is not really the answer, but typically that's where people go to as a
mm-hmm.
default. They look at other places that we call them hidden places because that's why you don't see. But for us,
Right.
that we see this day in day out in many different business, from small to big, we know where to look, and you will not know where to see it. So therefore, you lose money, left money on the table, and you'll be surprised that that's always so funny, with my clients. Oh my God, I don't know where I find this money. They have $50,000. They don't even know they have it, but they have because they have not looked in the right place. So that's always a joy when I see them so light up. And my God, I can use something with that, right? Either 50,000 or 500,000, regardless the amount. The key is you are leaving money on the table. Every one of you are. Everybody does. It's just a
Mm-hmm.
matter of how this leak is going to continue to get worse if you don't block it right now, right? Just like a leak in the bathroom, like little drop over time,
Yeah.
it can really leak and flood it, right? It's the same thing. When we see a small problem, we overlook because it wasn't a big enough, we don't see it. But then when by the time you find out it's a lot bigger, which is cost you more money and time to fix. So it's better
Mm-hmm.
to fix it now than wait. And sometimes people tend to wait and say, okay, I think just wait and see what happens. That's really the wrong approach because things getting harder to fix it and you can really pay attention to it and you can go so much faster with where you're going and you feel so relief as well because money keep people up at night, right? To be honest,
Yes.
people
Yes.
problem keep people up at night.
Yes.
So much to deal with as a business owner. You have all these things and really can wore you out and get people burnout. So that's why it's don't try to fix everything on your own. Just have someone to help you to looking at it. It saves you so much time and relief as well. And ultimately, the peace of mind you have is so much worth so much more than just the money that you have spent.
Absolutely. And I'm also thinking that when if an assessment is done early, right? Or maybe
Mhm.
often, like do you think someone doing that quarterly just to see where they are, just to measure, just to gauge? I don't know if people do this on a smaller scale. I'm sure larger companies probably are assessing things more often than smaller companies, but I would say in any case, that you stop and you take a look at what's there. And I'm also thinking that when you do these assessments, if something is not in place and the business owner wasn't aware of it, that's some of those aha moments, things that they didn't know that they didn't know because they weren't aware that it was something they even needed. So is that something else that you can help them with, not only just cutting costs, but maybe bringing on other resources or some other tools that they can use that will at the end save money, save time, help them with management of employees, teams? You mentioned earlier in our conversation about hiring the wrong people, even. So people may have the wrong people in charge of different things. So when an assessment is done, you may be talking to the wrong person, but they're in the right position.
Yeah,
So
absolutely. Yeah,
yeah.
when we do our planning, even though like a high level 3 year planning, and of course we have annual budget, every quarter we look at our numbers and also our plan because things will change what you kind of
Hmm.
set up to do and things will change. So on a quarterly basis, you always recalibrate and refine. One of the kind of pathway that we do is a growth strategist is really laying out based on what we have right now. How do you really grow and scale? What are the foundation need to have? And could be some pieces missing that we need to have. And also could be something you're doing well that you wanted to multiply. And things are not doing so well. It may not be completely cut that out. It may just
Hmm.
need to fine tune a little bit to make it work. Because sometimes we look at things just black and white, this working is not. But actually, a lot of times it's in the gray area. This is where you need to recalibrate what's that look like and dial in. And also maybe they need a little bit more time to come to fruition because we could be having a strategy put in place, but we didn't give enough time to make this happen. And we scrap it out and say, this is not working. Let's go somewhere else.
Yeah.
So you're constantly changing, you're constantly going after the shiny object, the
Yeah.
constant just like, you didn't really get this in place to have the foundation. So what happened is when you have the strategy, what people don't typically do is they look at this, oh, okay, this sales strategy, this marketing strategy, they just go ahead. But they don't tie back to the entire business to say, when we are doing this, what's that mean from an operation perspective? How do we operationalize it to support this? What do we need from a people perspective? Do we have the right people in the right seat? Do we have the right skill? At time when you're growing a company, the person you hired to do this, maybe it's 18 months ago, but now things change. That person need to do something else in addition to whatever they're doing. They cannot just doing what they used to do because it's not sufficient. Your business is evolving. So what we do is to connect all these part of the business as a whole. What's that really mean instead of just focusing on one side and then see how it goes. So I think that connection of things that is typically I don't see people are having. And sometimes people will hire an operation person to say, let's this operator to tie everything out. But that's only one aspect of execution. But are you
Ooh.
tying things out that make sense? So, for example, we have peanut butter and jelly as a sandwich, but now you have this peanut butter, you have an avocado here. They don't really come together, but on its own, it can be good for that group. But you have to look at it how it comes together. Does it gel? And that's where I think people think just hire someone operation to make it work, but they don't see holistically. These doesn't go together. So that's a wrong thing to piece them out. But when you're hiring people separately, you hire a marketing person, you outsource your tag, and then you have another person doing operation. Everybody can't do the piece. As a CEO, you are the visionary, but sometimes you have the ideas, but you got so busy on creating, you don't get a chance to piece it all together and see whether it makes sense. So that's why someone like myself have the finance background, not only piecing together as a holistic business, but also does it make financial sense to do it. That's the other part. So that's why I think a lot of time when people think about a finance person is always just controlling the money, make sure we're making it don't have negative, but actually it's not. Our role is a lot bigger. Maybe certain people are doing at that level. At my level, I'm looking at holistically the business. I'm not just a finance person. I'm the kind of your right hand person to make sure what you're doing it makes sense operationally, makes sense financially, and also makes sense in the market. Is this what all is together appealing to your ideal customer set? Maybe you just want to sell for the sake of just pleasing everybody, right? Everything has to be all connected into one.
Right.
So I'm hoping it makes sense because this is what
it does.
most people don't talk about it. They talk about one particular area. They don't talk about the business is a holistic thing.
A whole thing. Yes.
One piece in there. Yeah.
I love that word, and it makes sense in what you do, because we've had these conversations enough to where I know you, but for those who don't, just knowing that you're looking at the whole thing, not just bits and pieces, will help them understand if something is wrong in one area, it's probably something not in alignment, something is off balance somewhere else. So you can't put a Band-Aid on this problem and think everything is going to be okay when no, something else is going to fall apart. I was thinking earlier, it's like you have an old car and you need a new part. Well, when you put a new part in an old vehicle, some of the older parts are going to start to fail really quickly, because now you have this powerful thing running, and then everything else sort of falls apart. So it's like that in a business. Even when you're moving people around, like you were talking about, and sometimes people just need retraining. They need to be updating their training. They have taken on more tasks because something has changed within the company. It doesn't necessarily mean you have to take out that whole person, but you have to allow the time for the changes that you've made to start giving you results before you start shifting and changing things around again. But having you as that person that can see what the CEO, the owner, some of the management team, HR, somebody knows something is wrong, but having you there where you can pinpoint it and help guide them, and save them time. If you get to a person at a good time in their business where they're growing and scaling and growing and scaling, and now there's enough information, there's enough things that have happened where you can come in and really save them. I know that you said earlier that this could be done at any business you can look at and help them, but I really feel that there's a particular group, there's a space there where some women, coaches, not necessarily women. I know you work with more than just women. You work with women and men, but for women that are out there that have just taken on this online space, and they had a vision, right? They wanted this to grow. They want to help other women, but they weren't prepared for the growth of a company the way it unfolds. And so we see struggle. Like I've seen women, they're doing well, and then all of a sudden you don't see them anymore. And then when they come back, there's been major changes, a spouse change, or, and so what I was seeing also is the business itself. Like she wasn't ready for what she didn't know what was coming, and wasn't educated enough to know that someone like you with your background could help. So there's a lot of women that are out there. They could be making, you know, seven figures or six figures trying to get to seven, and they're struggling with that. Um, if you had any advice for women who are in that space, growing from six to seven or seven to eight figures, um, just something quick for them to be able to say, hey, um, I think I know what I need now, which is, of course, is, I'm going to say Doris, but but what advice could you give them, because they're in that stuck space? They've been up all night, they're stressing, they have their families and stuff. What can you say to them to give them some hope? Like be that little light shining for them, that beacon.
Well, I think from my experience, also working with a lot of business owners, they also get into burnout stage as well. It's really real. And when you hit to it, it just comes so quickly. And you probably don't really realize you just keep pounding through. So one of the ways that I'm planning to help them more about is don't look at what you're doing right now, because that your current stage doesn't define your future. So the way I'm looking at it is we need to really looking at what's your really ultimate goal and vision for the business. How big you wanted it. How does it look like when you feel like this is what you really want to create? I want to emphasize your business really is your legacy. So you start with the highest vision, and then what we can do is we go reverse engineer to figure it out in each of the stage. What's that really mean? This means you are a CEO, this many hours you work, this many team member, these kind of products that you have, these kind of your pricing and your revenue projection and cash flow and so on. So that's why as you scale, we have metrics that we measure. When you hit to this point, you're ready to hire the next person. What are those metrics? So when you hit those, you know it's time to hire. So you don't second guess yourself and you hire too late or too early, because in each step, we already dial in the business model and also the financial plan to say, at this stage, this is what's going to look like, your profit margin, your people, your pricing, and your revenue. So that we take all the guessing and emotions out, because everything's all mapped out by those criteria we set in advance. So again, once you hit those, you know you're ready for next step. Now, when you explore again, there's another set of metrics you measure that you reach, you get there. Not just like you feel like, I think I need 20 more people, I need 10 more people. It's not on that, because everyone is all measured and dialing. So that way, you know, in each stage, you know how you're going to show up as a leader, how many time, how much hours you're going to spend on. And also what's that really mean your team. Your team mix is different. How different group is going to look like your we call them organization design, basically how each team is going to support the vision at that stage. So that makes it so much easier out of guessing game and emotional turmoil, because now you can looking at it to say, okay, I'm here. And then you know what's the next step, but you can decide you're ready for the next step or not. You can say, you know what, I know what it takes to the next step, but I'm not ready right now. You can wait and to decide when is the right time to get the next step. So that way you are ready. I have known so many people, they run into the same thing. They make millions, or they make top line million. I know this influencer make $3 million top line, but after they pay everyone, they take home 300K. But there's so much operationally to keep up with $3 million business, and you end up working a lot. Then maybe someone have a small team, 5 people, that maybe they top line is 600,000, but she keep 50% and she take up 300K. It's the same thing, but you have less of a headache of keeping up a big team and all these other things that you travel around. She decided one is smaller, but it's all up to you. Each person is different. Some people meant to have a big impact that they want to have a big empire. Some people may be more of a boutique business just to retain the how they like it. But again, nobody can tell you which way to go. Ultimately, it has to align with your lifestyle. And that's why I think once you really be bold and not judging yourself where you are and then limit yourself where you can go, but be bold and think about what you really, really want. Even though it may sound ridiculous right now, it may sound like totally out of reach, but put it down and then you can reverse engineer and say, okay, this is where I want to go. It may take me 10 years, maybe take me 5 years, which is okay. But right now, in the current 1 year, 2 year, this is how I wanted to operate my business. So you're always in alignment, and whatever you do, you are preparing yourself for the future self where you need to be. So you're not starting something, turn it all down, building something, tear it down again, because you're building it in steps to your final stage of where you want to be. So I feel deeply about this topic. I've been through it myself as well. So I know firsthand what it feels like, how am I thinking, how am I feeling. But once I really put the vision to how I really wanted it, it make the worlds of difference. I have so much in alignment and peace in what I'm doing because every step I'm doing is contributing to the version of where I want to be instead of just short term, just try to make some money, try to help people whoever need help, but it's not in alignment where you want to go. So I can't emphasize enough about that focus. So I want everyone to really think about what that is and be bold to dream about it because ultimately you are here to fulfill a mission and only you can do it.
Oh, wow. Now that was powerful. Everything you said was powerful, but my gosh, that it was like I resonate with that and I understand so much about that now. If we had had this well, we've had conversations like this
We
over the
have
years.
not conversation. We
Over
know
the
each
years,
other for a little bit.
yeah. But it's like when you are in alignment, it's like a flow. There's a natural thing that takes place where you're able to see yourself growing. Like I can really see myself growing. And so as you're explaining that, it's so I can relate to that now, you know, and and I'm excited. It's a good feeling. So I can understand how some women I haven't reached that $1 million goal yet, but but for those who have and their struggle, I'm thinking, wow, what a amazing thing to have as a quote unquote struggle. Um, and then to know that there's someone who can really, really help you, not just band-aid it, but honestly get you through it. And like you were saying before, which I think was so powerful and so key, is knowing the matrix. Like if you know at this point what's needed, then when
Mhm,
you get there, you're ready for it. Like there's no
mhm,
second guessing. It's like, okay, now I can get this other person that I've been trying to
mhm.
visualize to be a manager over whatever. Because now you can pay that salary. That person comes in and they have the job to actually do and they can perform because you have everything else in place for them and the rest of the company as well. That it shifts how you think of yourself as a business owner.
And I think for business, if you really truly own a business, really is a team sport. Because you can't really own a business without having people. If you
Right.
don't have anybody, you really don't have a business, you have a job,
The
but
job. Yeah.
no, this really is true. And also, when we think about hiring, what I see most women, especially struggling, is they want to, but they're so fearful in case I could not pay that person anymore, something happened,
Yeah.
then I feel really bad. You know, in case that I hire the wrong person, then things all mess up, or they steal from me what I know. So we always so fearful about something wrong is gonna happen,
Yeah.
and limited ourselves, and then we just settle and say, you know what, I don't want to be too big. I don't really want to do that because you're gonna have headache.
Mm.
And in this world with human beings, you're always dealing with people is always have headache, but it doesn't mean it's always you. Like I manage teams for years. I have people that truly in the line. I mentor them. I see them rising star, able to really carry complex project, able to present. It's so fulfilling for me to nurture someone young to get to that level. Also have people that have issues where I have to create performance review that they need to put on notice and ultimately they quit on their own. I've been through both. But the joy of having people working with you along with the same mission, because again, you're here to create a business that's your legacy. You have a mission to feel. When you have people behind you believe in you and do it together, the fulfillment and the feeling and the gratitude they also give to you, like thank you for creating this space to doing this together. The fulfillment of that out out trump like the pain or the other that you deal with people. There certainly is a pain point, but it's very short term. Just think about, I have a child, right? So childbirth again is painful, but at the same time, the joy of having a child is outpace the other thing. So sometimes that's why we have to think about not so short term in what you're looking for. Think about the longer term, what you really want. The short term pain, we'll have strategies that, a checklist of how you hire people, sourcing people. Those are things that we can work through. But at the same time, don't just downplay yourself because you think dealing people is headache. And I know this firsthand. I have a friend uh, was promoted to be a manager 20 years ago. And I was so happy for her to become an individual contributor to be a leader. But then 3 months after, I see her in far away, and I was like, "Is it her?" Because she looks so skinny right now. I don't quite recognize her. And what happened is, once she become the supervisor or the manager, she felt like people talking about her all the time. Everywhere she turned, like people are talking about her, and she doesn't like that and really take a toll in her health and miserable. So eventually she just quit not to be manager and just want to do her same thing again because it's such a relief for her. And so I that's always stuck in my head. It's like, oh my God, does it other people can really do some damages to become that? And always stuck in my head. And as I kind of go up the rank to be a leader and such, and I always remember that. But at the same time, I try to remember the bigger thing that what I want to accomplish and not taking the people problem to override what the bigger purpose I have. So I understand these people problems are real because I've seen in my own eyes how it impacts someone and keep people at night. But that's why we have to shift our perspective. Are we really in the business to build a legacy? If you want to build a legacy, you need more manpower to share the world what you have to offer, to not keep it small. So therefore, it comes as a package, but there are strategies you can minimize it. So don't think people always the problem, but also people can be a blessing as well. So I just wanted to mention that because this is a true situation I've seen over and over again, and then we justify, you know what, I don't want to deal with it. So let's just keep it small. And maybe for some people it's okay. That's also fine. It's ultimately your decision. But I don't want that one thing to blocking you from fulfilling your purpose, how whatever you want to be, just because of that. That's why we learn, right? We learn how to deal with people. We learn money so that way we can make money, right?
Yeah.
So Ultimately, you have to know your numbers, know your team members, and also know your customers too. So those are the critical pillars. Doesn't matter the size of your business, what type of business, those three things you got to know.
Well, so Doris, what do you have to offer people that can help them get to know a little bit more about how they can project out their income, how they can get their annual growth percentage? I know you have a calendar, so can you give us a little bit, not a calendar, a calculator? I'm sorry. You've created a calculator, and I think I keep pushing you on this because I really feel like it can open the doors for people, because they can put their numbers in and actually see the possibilities even before they understand all the other parts of the structure of the company. And then for those who are struggling, it's an opportunity for them to see if their pricing is right, or if they're growing at a good stage. And then you have a space for a three-year projection. So can you share how everybody can get their hands on this, or get their eyes
Yeah,
on it rather?
absolutely. So, yeah, I'm really excited about this because, again, to know the numbers, not so short term. So, I created a freedom calculator for you. Freedom
Mm,
calculator means the numbers that you have put in that will create freedom for you, whatever the number is. Every one of you will be different. So, the
mhm,
calculator will have a 3-year projection that you can put down what the price for your services, and then how much you want from a freedom perspective, a monthly income. And then it will do all the calculation to figure out how many clients that you need. And throughout the 3-year time, you can see how you can make to millions or tens of millions, however the projection is. One other thing I also put in is business is meant to grow. So in my calculator, I have a growth percentage that means for you to really elevate your services to grow, either your pricing change, whatever that might be, but you need to grow your business year over year. So I purposely put those in that you can see how the 3-year projection look like. So over the 3-year time, what you're achieving, not so short term, just look at your current year, where current quarter, what's that look like. So I purposely created in a way that how big companies, successful company really look at the financials. And so I have in the magazine, I have a link that you can go in there, subscribe to, and then I'll give you the free calculator and with tutorial. I'll show you exactly what you need to do. And believe me, when you go in there and you'll be able to see how you achieve your goals, maybe easier than you thought, or also believe in that could happen. Because in the calculator, while laying there, you can easily reach to $1 million in 3 years' time if you really follow, the math, how those are. And again, it could be sooner or it could be bigger, but regardless of, the calculator is meant for you to put some numbers there. I have cells that especially in green that you can change to, so you can play, right? You can play to say, what if I do this price? What if I want to make this much? What's that really mean? So at the end of the day, it gives you a tools to do a what if, to play around. So ultimately, after you play around couple round, and you will feel when you're doing it, and you can see what that makes sense for you because it's on paper, you can see it. Also, when you play with a number, you will feel your body, how you react to it. And then you can find your optimal number. What's that look like? And then you stretch yourself year in, year out to have some growth in your business. So that's why this is a super beneficial, a freedom calculator you can get your hands on right now by subscribing to the magazine. I have a link that you can go use it. And for your business, and also work with your team, if you have team or even small numbers of team, and then or your family, to play with that to see what that look like. So once you have the alignment, then you know what it takes. And then we have to kind of go back to, of course, dial it in to say what's the plan to support the numbers. But the first is to know what the numbers you want and desire that will help to reverse engineer what it takes to get there.
Powerful, powerful, powerful. I'm looking forward to getting back in the calculator again.
Yeah, I
But
know.
you're right. When you start to put the numbers in, whatever kind of visualization you had for your business, it really helps, sort of etch that in stone for you in a sense, and your body does respond.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't put high numbers up there at first, but when I did put 1 million in there and realized at what price point and how many customers I would need to reach that goal in 3 years, and the how my business would be growing, it something happened in me where I'm like, oh my goodness, I need some of these other things in place, and this is real. Like,
Yeah.
so I'm sure others will experience that same thing, if not something similar. So I want to thank you and end on that note. I want to thank you so much for your wisdom and your knowledge and your energy and your passion about this, because you have a much more complicated calculator as well. So you know how to go deeper.
Yep.
So what
Absolutely.
you're offering is something that they can, like you said, play around with themselves. But when they work with you, oh my, it's a win-win. It's definitely a win-win. So I want to thank you again for gracing the cover of this issue. And we are going to go out and dominate social media. You can go out there and help people with their businesses, as you are the money girl. You know your numbers. And I tell people this, I talk about you and they don't even know who you are. So I'm like, look, Doris is the money woman. She's the money girl. That's the title. It's on her crown. And you know this, you know this. I can't say it enough. So if anybody would trust you with their business and find so much success, I think the world should be able to trust you as well. And so I want to thank you again. You can find Doris in the magazine. Also, I'll put a link here to be able to connect with her in the comments or wherever this is going to be. So you'll be able to connect with Doris directly as well. So thanks again, Doris.
Thank you so much. I can talk about money and people all day. So again, be bold, build a business of your visions, and I'm cheering you on. I can't wait to hear back your feedback and how you're using the calculator and helping you to step forward to the next level. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Subscribe to the magazine. Click on the link after this video or somewhere around this video. Subscribe and make sure that you read through the articles of every issue, because it's going to be jam-packed with so much to learn about each coach and business tips. There's Tech Talk on Tuesday, Fun Funnel Fridays that you have access to if you become a member. So I hope to see you soon. Thank you so much. See you next month.